What's going on, guys? Just getting everyone up here. Fantasy football forecast. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear, sir. Loud and clear.
Awesome. Let me. For some reason, my headphones are not connecting. Just give me 1 second here. All right, fantasy football. Why don't you just let us know what you think about this weekend's games and what were kind of your biggest takeaways while I fix my headphones here.
You got it, my friend. One thing that really stuck out to me last night was going to be the new acquisition everybody's looking at from Kansas City. Now, I know they're on bye. Important thing to cover this week. 4 buys, big buys too. Rams, Dolphins, Vikings, and Chiefs, both undefeated teams, believe it or not. But everybody is going to be real excited to go out there and pick up this guy singing this song. And I don't think that's going to be the play because Juju had a great night last night, but you're going to have to sink 15, 20, 25% of your money on there. And you're going to get a zero, obviously, this week. And then next week we come out and they might have purchased a new receiver in the bye week. So keep an eye on that. That's a main thing.
Wait. Who are they going to purchase?
Well, maybe trade for. I'm sorry, not purchase. Let's say trade.
I agree. I understand that, but they're not getting Devontae Adams. So who are they going to get?
I mean, they
Could
are
be a
the
wily
only team.
veteran.
They are the only team that's offered what the Raiders are asking for. So
They don't have the cap space, and they're not going to. They can't afford him, and they're not going to get that. They're not going to get him in the division. That's just not going to happen.
Sorry. What's going on?
Ooh, somebody's mic is really bad.
Hey, Wolf, you're going in and out, brother.
I don't agree they're not going to try to go after somebody, but they have no cap space. So who are they going to get?
Oh, we don't know exactly who they're going to get. I just feel they will add somebody to. I mean, it could be a
Yeah, but it's going to be.
I just don't think he's a good addition for 25% of your fab money when he was cut from New England earlier in the year. And all of a sudden now he's going to be the man in Kansas City. I think we got more time to tell on that.
I think
I think we're talking about two different people here, right? Like we're talking about Devontae Adams versus Juju Smith-Schuster, right?
Well, I mean, Schuster is what he is, right? But he said they're going to get somebody. I'm like, the only guy out there right now.
Sorry, guys. Hey, I'm back. I had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Absolutely, sir. Nah, Juju, are we crashed out?
No. What's going on, everybody? I think maybe Wolf's struggling.
Yeah, the space is acting a little weird for me too. Hold on.
It's okay. Are you going to give us the roller coaster?
Say that one more time.
What is the roller coaster? Because he played amazing. Thank you, Rip. Go around here, guys. Let's just give kind of your biggest takeaways on the weekends, and then we'll kind of go through some of the major trade rumors and some of the major takeaways from the weekend. We'll start with a new guy we have up on the panel. It's Blitz. Blitz, go ahead, man. What were kind of your biggest takeaways of the week?
What's up, everybody? Really appreciate you guys having me on for the first time. Good to interact with all y'all through this time and bring some people over from our stream as well. But some of my biggest takeaways from this weekend, honestly, let's go to the Jets with the news with Robert Saleh, man. That was just, I think a lot of people were shocked by that. But on the Blitz angle, we were recently talking about how Saleh could be on the block as soon as this week. And what do you know what happened? I think going forward for the Jets, this is a make or break week for them against the Buffalo Bills. Well, how are they going to respond to their head coach getting fired? And then on the Bills side of things, what are we going to get from the Bills? The first 3 weeks, they looked like the best team in the NFL. And then the last 2 weeks, they look like a completely different team. So I'm interested to see that matchup. That's probably my favorite matchup of this next week. So let me know your guys' thoughts. But do you think Bills Jets? I think I'm going to lean Bills in this one, but who knows? Jets could come out firing with a new guy at the helm.
I'll be honest with you, that's all Rodgers' fault.
Love to hear it. I could only hear a little bit. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I could hear you.
Wolf, you're in and out.
Real quick, I will say on the Rodgers thing, I think 100% that Rodgers is taking over whatever he wants in the Jets. They're all locked into Rodgers. It's going to be Rodgers' way the rest of the season. And you know he got wind of Hackett potentially going. And right away, it was Robert Saleh's head on a stick.
Yeah, but to be fair, just to be fair, Blitz, we didn't need Saleh's firing to know that Aaron Rodgers was running the Jets.
I mean, 100%. He's been running the Jets. Yeah, 100% agree with that.
So does anybody here think, and again, I was thinking about this week, right? And I'm like, I want to talk about the Giants. I want to talk about Atlanta. And then today all hell broke loose with that. And does anybody think this makes a difference? I mean, Rodgers looks washed up. He's been a great quarterback forever, but he just looks like, what does it matter? You changed the head coach. Does it really make a difference? Anybody think that? Opening it up to the panel here.
I definitely think that. I don't know what they were hoping to accomplish here by, just offing Robert Saleh. Like everybody, he's a defensive head coach. And guess what? The defense has been elite. So I don't know. Who knows what is really true and what isn't. What I read was, they were going in to talk about firing Hackett. And then the next thing you know, Saleh gets fired. I don't know. That could be just fan fiction journalism, but I don't know. It's just, at the end of the day, nothing has changed from what we knew going into this season, which is that he's a defensive coach. The defense is awesome. The offense isn't. You brought in Nathaniel Hackett, who is
did you just put a defensive coordinator?
All right.
Did you just make the defensive? You just made your defensive coordinator in charge of the offense. So what's changed?
Well, no, they didn't. That's
hey guys, I'm back. Can you guys hear me? Tenement, you got me?
Yes, we can hear you. Finally.
There you go.
I'll give it to you.
Finally, gosh. I'm so sorry, guys, for the technical difficulties. I can't even see if anybody's on stage. I can't see your hands. So I'll kind of swing it around. I know Mike and Blitz kind of went. So I'll go over to Tropic first, and then we'll kind of keep swinging around, guys. Thanks for showing up, guys.
All right. Real quick, Jets perspective. Absolutely very predictable, right? We kind of saw that coming. But just give you a little background, someone who's been a Jets fan since 98. I mean, we always pick up these old quarterbacks. We find little pockets of success, Testaverde, Fitzpatrick, but we chase big names all the time. We've had Favre, Tebow, Vic, Flacco, now Rodgers. I mean, it's just what we do, right? As painful as a fan. We can change out coaches, we change out our GMs, we change out everything. But the only thing that stays constant, you have to just say that, like, Johnson has no idea what he's doing as an owner, and like the people he's putting in place, like, so that's where it's going, and it's not going to change. It's kind of like when Al Davis was going crazy at the end and he was just having horrible teams. It's kind of like that, right? As long as the owner is horrible, like, that's just what we're going to get. And changing out Saleh honestly isn't going to do anything. We knew that this is what it was. The offense looked god awful, but everyone knew that's who Aaron wanted, and that's the only way you're going to get him in there. That's why they hired him. So it's not really a surprise that if he really went in there to try to fire the OC, which you could tell, like, that offense is just awful. But it is what it is. I'm frustrated, but I knew this was going to happen. And now this is going back to just really quick. As a Canes fan in college, after staying up and having, like, almost a stroke, I said to myself, I'm not waking up early to watch the Jets just make me upset. So what I did is I went to church, I recorded it, and then afterwards I watched it because I expected exactly what I got. These guys always leave. We have these busts, Sanchez, Wilson. Now we see Geno go off, do his little thing. Pennington beat us in the year when we got rid of him and went to the playoffs for Favre. So it's predictable. Darnold didn't do that great, but it is what it is.
I will say, or I'll let Rip go, but I want to ask you about Sam Darnold. Rip, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to close the loop on the thought before when your mic wasn't working. They're not replacing the offense options. I think you said it, or was it Tropic who said it?
No, I said they're replacing the. Just to be clear, they're replacing Saleh with another defensive coordinator. I didn't say they're replacing the offense.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm gonna go contrarian. I think on this, I actually think this is gonna help the Jets. I mean, I think Saleh's voice was useless, and so I think that like this new guy will probably be better. And I actually think that the Jets ran into Rodgers is old, but the Jets just ran into two good defenses. The Vikings and the Broncos are severely underrated as a defense, and so I think that after the Bills, then they get the Steelers, the Pats. Like I feel like they could turn it around here. So it's a little contrarian, but I just think a new voice is going to help them.
I have us at 8
The only
wins.
counter to that is that you called him this new guy. Like, like it's not like we're, but I do agree. I do agree overall with
it. It is because when you're the defensive coordinator, you're not in charge of like the voice.
I don't mean to interrupt anybody, but I cannot hear Rip, which just made the space 10 times better because I won't hear him hating on Caleb Williams. But I'll let Tenement just let me know if Rip is talking.
Yeah, no, we were kind of agreeing and disagreeing both at the same time. So it was a good time maybe to intervene. I don't know. It's just like I whenever you said that Saleh's voice wasn't carrying any weight anymore, I think you kind of flipped me there, to be honest, because I do agree with that part of it. I just didn't, I just don't know. Like nothing has changed right now from anything that we knew in week 1 to Tropic's point. Like nothing has been surprising. So I don't understand, like shooting from the hip and just firing your coach feels like a pretty unhinged move from an owner. And especially when you say, hey, I met with Aaron Rodgers this morning, but we didn't even talk about this. To be honest, that's even more screwed up. Like that's worse.
All right. Yeah, for sure. All right, so tell Sam that I'm going to stop talking.
We'll go over to Sosa, and then we'll keep going through the. Oh, I'm sorry, Rip.
Give a second for Rip, and I will. I'll push the end of the clock for him.
Yeah. So you're right. It's unhinged. Let's get to the hands, and then finally on that though, like it can't be worse. So my thing is, let's just the upside because we know what Saleh is. He had no voice. He had no like purpose really. So the defense is already good. So like losing him isn't going to change anything. Defense will remain good, and maybe Rodgers will be a little bit better with a little easier competition. So that's the thought. Let's get to the hands.
Yeah, go ahead, Sam. You can interject here on if you had any thoughts on what Rip just said.
I couldn't hear Rip, but I heard something about Caleb Williams being amazing. So we'll keep going through the hands. We'll go to Sosa, and then we'll go to fantasy football. Sosa, go ahead, man.
Yeah, I know the other guys were in here first, or were here before me, but listen, Robert Saleh is completely useless. He was a lame duck head coach since last year. I tweeted it on October 1st of 2023 that he is equally lame duck as Brandon Staley. It was pretty evident. I mean, they retained an offensive coordinator who has no cachet, and the only reason he's in the building is because of the quarterback. I think that a lot of people are missing something in regards to Aaron Rodgers and his significance to the Jets organization. He is literally the best player in the history of football to put on a Jets uniform. If you don't think the owner is fully aware of that, okay, he wouldn't have done what he did today. The owner is fully aware that, listen, you can say whatever you want. Outside of Prime Revis, he is the best player in the history of the NFL to put on a Jets jersey is Aaron Rodgers. He's a 4-time league MVP. It's actually not even close. So you can thumbs down it all you want. It's the truth. Saleh getting fired. It's nothing special here. People keep getting on the internet and lying about him being a great defensive head coach. He's not. People get on here and start lying about the Jets not drafting well. That's a lie. Outside of offensive linemen getting hurt, they've drafted very well. But people will get on the internet and lie because that's what's fun to do on the internet. It's fun to just make things up that sound good in the moment. Saleh got fired because he's the least important individual in the room at this particular moment. That's why he got fired. The defense that he's supposed to be running is getting lambasted by the entire NFL. Anybody can run the ball against them. If I'm lying, tell me I'm lying. Anybody can run the rock against them.
I mean, are we going to spend the whole entire show on the Jets?
I would also like for you to look at the quarterbacks they played. I mean, that matters, right? So if you want to, can we examine the quarterbacks they played outside of Darnold? Like, let's have a conversation. We really want to have a conversation, right? Because he's this great defensive guy, right? Look at the quarterbacks he faced and tell me the defense shouldn't have fared better. Saleh got what was coming to him.
I don't think anybody's really criticizing the defense.
Yeah,
here.
Well, I mean,
to be honest, the way I see it,
I don't think that Woody Johnson's shooting from the hip. Woody Johnson is trying to keep the temperament in his locker room down because everybody in that locker room loves Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I don't know if I would entirely agree with that, but
that's the truth.
Have you been following Woody?
Well,
have you been listening? Have you listened to the players talk about Aaron Rodgers?
No, I'm just saying. Look, he is known as not necessarily the most likable player in the NFL. I wouldn't even say that's a hot take at all. That's just I'm just going off of
show
just
me one teammate that you've seen Aaron Rodgers that you've heard someone say something negative about Aaron Rodgers. Tell me. Show me one teammate.
But that doesn't matter here. It doesn't matter.
That's not even what we're talking about.
I mean, he's
if we're not talking about
throwing the ball well.
Just say it. You just said
I am saying it.
So show us an athlete that agreed or said that.
Tell us.
What
is your argument right now? I'm trying to get a grasp on what you are trying to argue in favor of.
I simply said Saleh got what was coming to him. He deserved to get fired.
Okay. No disagreement there. No disagreement.
I don't feel as though the owner's shooting from the hip. I don't think that if someone used that term, I don't think that's the term. I think this was a very calculated decision.
No, what I said was that Woody Johnson claimed that he met with Aaron Rodgers this morning and they never discussed this at all. I said, if that is actually true, if that's a true statement, that's probably
no, it's not.
Because then, you should be including.
Can we talk about? Can we break from the Jets here? We've been 20 minutes on the Jets. Can we break off
a team? You don't have to call anybody and tell them that you're firing anybody. You don't owe them anything. You write all the checks. You don't have to explain yourself to anyone.
All right, we can go. It's like crazy owners.
Once again, I'm not really sure what you're arguing in favor of, but yeah, I would move off of the Jets. I would love to do that. So, fantasy football. Do you have any thoughts outside of Jets Nation?
Yeah, that's hilarious. You guys put all the good Jets talk in. I was going to bring up the point of Breece Hall. If you look up in the Diggly-Doo, I threw a tweet up there that a gentleman had put out about Hall last year, week 1 through 6, or week 1 through 5. I apologize. And now what he's done this year, and the same thing last year is when they really turned it around. I think the fact that, they ran the ball 14 times and Aaron Rodgers threw it 54 times. We don't need to blame who got fired, who's coming in. The fact they need to get back to pounding that ball. And this would be a good matchup this week against Buffalo. We'll see if they can commit back to the run. But I just that's all I had to say about the Jets. I know you guys wanted to get off that, but I stand on that mountain. They need to get back to that running game.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here. I want to talk about teams other than the Jets. I want to talk about two teams this week that stood out to me, and I want your guys' opinion on it. First of all, I'm a homer. It's my Giants, but going into Seattle, beating Seattle at home, which is tough, without Neighbors, without Singletary was huge. And the other team I thought that really stood out to me this week was Atlanta. Atlanta made a statement, I thought, this week that on their offense, oh my God, they finally figured it out. So for me, everything else this week was kind of we had this, we had that, everything else went on. Those two teams stuck out to me. I do not believe the Giants are making the playoffs, so let me start with that. But I think they made a statement that they are not such an easy out at this point. I think Atlanta made a statement that they are in the playoff picture and they're going to be there. So how about somebody else come up here and give some thoughts?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And I think over the past 2 weeks, we've actually been discussing it multiple times about how Atlanta seemed to be undervalued in the NFC South race. And, just 2 weeks ago, they were not even the favorite to win that division. And, they've had a couple strong showings since then. And I absolutely agree with you. Sean, do you have thoughts on that front or any other NFL front this weekend.
Oh, I agree with Atlanta making a statement offensively against Tampa Bay. I thought Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay's looked like one of the better teams in the NFL, in my opinion, to the start of the season. The Giants. I didn't expect the Giants to beat the Seahawks, especially without Malik Neighbors. But Daniel Jones is somehow managing games. Way better than what I thought he was going to do. Outside of that, my takeaways this week were the Packers just Jordan Love showing that him coming back and he could have a crappy game to turn around and just play lights out again. I think that the Packers are. I figured they were going to be hit or miss, or I didn't think they were going to be hit or miss, but I think that he's solidified again that Jordan Love, when he's playing at his top potential, that they're one of the better teams as well. So, outside of that, unfortunately my Colts lost a tough one. Should have got our asses kicked though, but I really don't have anything on the Jets. And where I would go with anything per se anything on the as far as the board goes this week is I am kind of interested to see the Broncos and the Chargers. I know it's two crappy teams, but in my opinion, I think the Broncos at plus 130, I think they're a live dog after seeing the Chargers and how they've started the season. That's kind of what I was going to talk about. See if anybody thought that there was any takes there for the Broncos at plus money against the Chargers this week.
Yeah, I don't know. It's two teams that I think I see the Broncos as a team that has overperformed expectations, and the Chargers maybe have underperformed, albeit with some injury concerns. Blitz, what are your thoughts there?
Yeah, I'll mention the Broncos real quick. The Broncos' success has become from Vance Joseph's game plans to start this season. They don't necessarily have a household name in their front seven. Obviously, you have Pat Surtain in the secondary, and he's been balling out to start the season, but they're creating a lot of pressure from their blitzing schemes and allowing free rushers to get to quarterbacks, and it worked really well. We obviously saw against the Buccaneers that upset game where that scheme just really cooked them and eat them alive, and now they're on a 3-game winning streak, and Bo Nix is starting to play slightly better, not great, but just enough to kind of get it done. And obviously against the Chargers, Slater and Alt were coming off injuries before the bye week, so interested to see their health. That'll definitely play a big factor. But if either of those guys are limited or hurt, the Broncos definitely at +3 is a good value, I think.
Love to hear it, guys. Finally back, and now I can finally hear everyone. I still see Rip up on stage with me, but other than that, it's going pretty good. I see. We'll go over to Tropic. Actually, no. Well, we got to go over to Emp before, because he has not talked yet. Emp, what's going on, man?
An entertaining first 20 minutes or so. I'm not even going to mention the team that claims one city and plays in another state, but no, there's some interesting things that stand out to me. So far, we've seen. Honestly, this is one of the most level, like outside of probably the top 3 to 5 teams. I feel like anybody could beat anybody on any given Sunday. Shout out to the movie reference, right? But it honestly feels kind of like that. You have a lot of these teams that have been terrible, but they can put it together, and somebody has an off day. And I feel like the level from the 5th team down towards the bottom is really, really even. So that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a lot of kind of surprising results here and there. Things that stick out to me, the Commanders, we haven't spoke about them yet. They continue to get it done. They continue to impress me. Your rookie Heisman Trophy winning quarterback that should have gone number 1 in the draft. Bears fumbled that one, but Commanders are putting it together. Commanders. Okay, first off, I am going to go off on the Bears real fast because I see too many Bears fans. Yeah, no, you brought this on yourself now. Okay, I was going to be nice about Caleb Williams. I spoke about him being a fraud way back in the summer, but we do need to address this. The Bears are way too excited for their 3 wins over the 1-4 teams, and their loss to the Colts and their loss to the Texans. They do not deserve to be 3-2. They are way overrated for anybody that thinks they're good right now. So small sample size, but that's what you're working with right now. So I'll leave that alone, but you made me go there. Outside of that, the Steelers would be a good team if their offense could put something together. They are the Iowa Hawkeyes of the NFL right now. They cannot figure out a way to score points. Their defense is very salty, but my Cowboys handed them 3 turnovers and a missed field goal, and they still couldn't figure out a way to win that game. The other big surprise for me is Geno Smith. I think Geno Smith is playing incredible, honestly, overall. I know they lost this past game. I think that was more on the defense than anything. I don't know, you let Daniel Jones without his top target go off on you. That's kind of at home. That was kind of shocking. But the Seahawks offense actually looks pretty decent overall. And Geno Smith, I think, has played well. Other last shocking thing, and I'll throw it around to someone else. Cardinals and 49ers. What a toilet bowl is going on out there in that. I mean, I don't know what's going on out there. If somebody can explain to me if either one of those teams are going to be decent or ever live up to their potential.
I can explain Sunday to you for easily.
Okay, please.
As a Niner fan, our kicker got hurt. So when they got their first touchdown, when they got their first touchdown in the fourth quarter, right before they scored, we had to go for it on 4th and 23 when our kicker would have been able to kick a field goal, but he couldn't. So we didn't convert 4th and 23. They got the ball back, scored a touchdown, and then we tried to run out the clock, and Jordan Mason fumbled. So we turned the ball over, and special teams killed us again. Our kicker got hurt, and we couldn't kick a field goal, and that's what happened. And Jordan Mason, while up a touchdown, fumbled. That's how we lost the game. I mean,
in the red zone too.
That's how it went. And we've been absolutely murdered by special teams as well. Special teams has been incredibly bad, and our secondary has had problems tackling. We've been bad defensively.
I think that's what's shocking is the linebackers in the secondary have been very disappointing for me for the 49ers.
Yeah, out of all of the opponents also that Minnesota's faced, our offense operated at the highest level of any other team, and Minnesota turned the ball over 3 times against us, and we still lost the game. So the Niners are right there in every game, and they've beaten themselves more than anything. If we're being totally honest, I know, when you expect a team to win and the expectations are extremely high, and they failed to win 2 division games in the first 5 weeks, it looks bad. But as far as I'm concerned, I still think we're right there.
Love to hear it. I'm going to hop in right here. Hey, Tenement, will you bring Rip up on stage if he's not already? No, I agree. There's a lot of takes in here that I agree with, except for Emp. He likes to hate on the Bears for some reason. And, I'm just, I don't know. We'll go over to Blitz. Blitz, go ahead, man. And feel free if I'm skipping anybody just to hop in, guys. Blitz, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to jump right in.
So I'll say, sorry. I just want to say before for Rip, somebody might have to step down. I think that might be the issue. I've been inviting.
We need another co-host.
Yeah, here, 1 sec.
Anyway, go ahead. Sorry,
I can step down if needed.
Yeah, all
good.
Going off of the Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels talk, I think it's way too early to say that Jaden Daniels should have been the number 1 pick over Caleb Williams. I think that's just going way too far right now, and I think that's kind of living in the moment a little bit. I think if you've watched the tape and watched the Bears offense over the last 5 weeks, from week 1 to week 5, this is a different team. You can look at the competition and say, oh, they played the Panthers and they had a great day. When they play a better team, they're not going to be as good. All right, cool. But Caleb Williams is a rookie quarterback, and his first game was overwhelmed by the talent level at the NFL. He was looking down at pressure too quickly. Now he's making quicker decisions. He's getting the ball out faster, and he's using his improvisation ability that was so good in college instead of kind of relying on that too much. He's not really using that as much anymore. He's using it as a crutch. He's playing within the offense. I have my problems with Shane Waldron. If you guys have watched our show, I am a huge Shane Waldron hater. He is not doing the Bears receivers any justice, but Williams has not been bad by any means so far. You can't expect a guy to come in there and be great right away. Jaden Daniels has been so good right away because he's a different type of quarterback than Caleb Williams. He's a dual threat type of a guy and can get away with his rushing upside at times that doesn't necessarily make it as easy for defenses to cheat to that pass. And we don't
So he was
even.
better. That's what I just heard you say. He came in better and more ready for the league. I mean,
That's
Caleb Williams
just
has
not.
played one decent defense
That's just
and threw
not
2
like a
picks and
true
had a
state.
51. He had a 51
Okay.
passer rating against
All
the
right,
only
so
good defense he
here.
played.
Let me tell you this one. Okay, so DeAndre Swift through the first 3 games of the regular season was averaging under 2 yards a carry. The Washington Commanders were the 3rd best rushing team in the NFL through 3 weeks. Imagine being a rookie quarterback playing with a below average offensive line and having to be a pocket passer and try to get your team into the game. Right? Jaden Daniels has that extra dimension that has helped him so far, and the ground game has been better. I'm not saying that Daniels is a bad quarterback by any means. He's playing great football right now, and I currently have him like at my top 15 quarterbacks out of the gate. But to say Williams shouldn't have been the number 1 pick is just way too far. It's living in the moment. Williams has shown progress through these games, and he's going to keep getting better as the season goes on. I just really hope he doesn't do too good because Shane Waldron needs to go for his development. That guy's hurting Williams so much right now. And don't get me wrong, the Bears have the easiest schedule in a tough NFC North, right? If they sneak a few of these division games, don't be surprised if the Bears sneak into the playoffs.
Blitz, I completely agree with you. I am
Oh,
so happy.
Jesus. I can agree with some of the points. Like, yeah, if he does great and they don't get somebody in there that can really develop him, that hurts him, that hurts the Bears long term. I can agree with that point. But just to be fair, my comments go all the way back to when we first started these spaces, back to last year, coming out of college into the draft. That's how far back I'm going. I'm not judging based off just these 5 games. I'm going back to what I saw in college as well, in pre-draft and everything, all encompassing from what we've seen to this point since they were in college.
Yeah, and I mean, going off of college too. I mean, if you watch the tape of Caleb Williams, you see all that great stuff that made him, I don't want to say a generational project or prospect, but the way the media was claiming him to be.
You wouldn't be wrong. You would not be wrong in that assessment whatsoever.
He was considered one of the best prospects we've seen coming out of college. I think the biggest concern with Jaden Daniels coming out of college was, is he going to work past the first read? Now, we've had our concerns with that, and he started to answer those questions that he can't work past that first read. He had 2 great receivers at LSU between Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors, and we've seen these 2 guys ball out early, right? Williams had the tape in college.
Cliff has also installed an offense that fits him.
Yeah,
he has not tried to put a circle on a square.
Shout out to Cliff Kingsbury. That guy has been cooking right now for Washington.
He's asked the quarter. He has not asked him to do anything he cannot do. And then also, listen, just to add on to what you said about Jaden, I think with young quarterbacks, the thing is with him, he's always been good throwing the ball to the outside. In college, he had two pro receivers, like you said. When in an age where they try to use these new defenses where they put too high and they try to basically make the quarterback be patient and check things down, Cliff has done a very, very good job of contouring the offense to where you're actually seeing Jaden complete a ton of passes over the middle of the field, which is something we never saw him do. Not that he couldn't do it, but they never asked him to do it at a high level in college. The fact that he's been able to do that, as well as simply identify things pre-snap as well. I think that's another thing that we're not giving Daniels enough credit for. Pre-snap, he's been great as far as identifying things. It's not just he's not just having his hand held through the whole thing. Caleb, on the Caleb side, the offensive line seems to be gelling a bit. Obviously, they performed terribly. But I'm with whomever said, you can only play who's in front of you. You can only beat who's in front of you. Just a reminder that Houston team only scored 6 points in the second half against that Chicago defense. Chicago could not do anything, and they were still in the game well towards the end of the game. So again, they scored 6 points in the second half against that Chicago defense. So that defense isn't the reason why I give Chicago a fighting chance, or that offense isn't the reason I give them a fighting chance every week. It's the defense. The defense turns you over, even though they might get gashed here and there. They turn you over and they go get their offense the ball. So I think that's the reason why we like Chicago. Jaden Daniels through 5 weeks though has been absolutely immaculate. Also, I just have one last point. Every single team that has when we talk about Seattle, every single team that's played Detroit the following week, they've got the break speed off them. It's one of the craziest things that's happened thus far. Like the Lions hangover could be a real thing. I don't know if you guys seen that, but like every team that have played the Lions the following week have gotten smoked, no matter who they played. They played the Rams first week. Next week they got smoked. They played Tampa. Tampa got beat by the Broncos. I forgot the two other teams, but you can look it up. It's one of the weirder stats. The following week, whoever they play just get the shit beat out of them. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting theory. I think they were on a bye this week, if I'm not mistaken. So I guess nobody is getting demolished this week. I'll go over to Mike, and then I want to go.
Seattle was their last victim.
I'll go over to Mike, and then I want to hear from Jones. Mike, go ahead.
So something I've been thinking is like Kansas City, and maybe it's Andy Reid, has shown us the way to culture a young quarterback is to sit him for most of the first year. So now we have two young quarterbacks. I think that was really well put. You have Clay Williams. You have Daniels. I'll even say Bo Nix. Bo Nix is not looking bad. Is this the right thing to do? Or is it to sit them for a year? I mean, I keep asking myself that question. Bo Nix is not looking horrible. I mean, I'm not saying he's looking great. Please, I'm not putting him in the same statement as those two. But he's winning games. He's kind of winning some games here. Different thought.
It's difficult to sit these quarterbacks now when you draft them top 10. And secondly, like I think organizations are more inclined to throwing them out there because it's not as large as a long-term investment as it used to be.
But does it really develop them, or does it not? I mean,
it's all relative to how to the situation the player is placed into, and I really think like that's what it is. It's like usually when you're drafted high, you're going to a bad team, right? So it's then what is the infrastructure around that player to make him successful? Like you look at Drake May. Do you think Drake May should be starting next week? I don't think he should be playing in the NFL right now based on the offensive line. But they took him top 5, and they got to see what they got.
Yeah, but I wouldn't start him next week. I'd wait until week 10, week 11. Look at Carolina. Look what's going on there. You have a horror show there, right? You paid how much to draft your rookie quarterback? You've now benched after 20 games, give or take? 18, thank you. So
19, because you played the whole season last year and 2 games this year.
So what do you do now? I mean, he's shot.
You pray he finds his confidence somewhere. I really think that's all you can really do because he just looks mentally shattered.
Yeah, I agree. I just worry that some of these guys are going to go the same way. The Jets, this is where rookie quarterbacks go to die. So let's just be honest about that.
So then you're in a great situation. You got a 40-year-old. Hang on to him as long as you can.
80 years old, baby, throwing the ball.
Hey, before we keep going, guys, in a few minutes, I'm going to run a trivia session. This one is about the NFL league leaders. And I'm going to also give a $25. I'll send you cash right now. If you get all 6 right and you post it in the comments, I'm going to pick one person at random and send them $25. So we'll run that in a few minutes here. Before we keep going to our hands, I want to hear from Rip. Rip, tell me that Caleb Williams played good.
No, I was just listening to everyone wax poetic about him, but yeah, I mean, I'm bullish Caleb. He's gotten better as the season goes along. You love to see it. And then similarly, obviously Jaden has been incredible, and so it's exciting that they're both looking, elite, and they're gonna match up in a couple weeks here too. So that's exciting. This week we got Lamar versus Jaden, Baltimore, Washington. That's gonna be a fun game. So we got a lot of stuff on tap.
Love to hear it. I'll go to Jones, and then we're going to run some trivia. Jones, go ahead.
Thanks for having me, guys. For me, I really want to talk about this question that you guys have up on the Jumbotron, which is, will the Chiefs go 17-0? I don't think they'll go 17-0, but I think a three-peat is really on the question because a lot of people are talking about the struggles on offense, and outside of last game, they haven't looked really good. Last game was probably their best offensive game of the year, but I think the reason why they should be in the conversation is because of the defense. Outside of the Bengals and the Ravens, they haven't been able to score. No team has been able to score over 20 points. So that defense is still elite with Jones and those corners and those linebackers, and that they're just lighting up on defense. So I know a lot of people are not rooting for the Chiefs and they're tired of them, but I think they're still in the conversation to win to three-peat this year. I'm not saying it's going to happen. It's highly doubtful because of history, but I think it's on the table because of that defense. And we already know what Patrick Mahomes is and Andy Reid. So I think people just looking at the offense is saying no, but we've seen what the offense did last year, and they still ended up winning. So it's really the defense that everyone should be worried about.
Dude, love to hear it, man. All right, guys, if you have not played trivia, up in the top in the nest, you click on the stream link. They're a company that adds functionality to Spaces, so literally you don't even have to leave the app, and you have 3 minutes to answer 6 questions. If you get all 6 right, post a screenshot in the comments, and I'm going to pick one person at random and send them $25. Just a little fun so we can kind of engage with our audience. I'm launching it now, so be sure you're tuning in. It is pretty tough. I don't know how many people will get all 6 right. But yeah, let's go ahead. And then, just let me know how it's going. There will be no glitches. So you have a T-minus 2 minutes and 55 seconds. I'll go over to Tropic while we're playing some trivia. Go ahead, Tropic.
Yeah, since we're just talking about defense really quick, have you ever seen a team like their defense dropped off as much as the Ravens did in one season? Like, I'm trying to figure out what's going on there. I know it's like what happened last week between them and the Bengals was just absolutely nuts, which is kind of crazy too, because like everyone wants to say, oh, Joe Burrow's supposed to be elite, but like he's playing great in my opinion. Like all the games he's played has been, enough to win, but the defense is so bad. But going back to the original question I just asked, like I can't remember a team that came into a season thinking, okay, this is a solid defense, and they dropped off and disappointed as much as them, because it's been absolutely just crazy. And that's one thing that's always been constant with the Ravens through the years is they've always had solid defenses. It's kind of like Steelers. It's kind of like their brand. You know what I mean? So that was kind of a shock. Anybody else shocked with that?
What if I told you the 49ers defense this year is even worse than that one that you just said?
Well, that's not too bad. Yeah, you could call that, but it's just, to me though,
right? So
it was a shock.
Hold on, you'd say it was early for them.
Here's what I'll say as far as
our defense has been awful.
Yeah, well, as far as the Ravens defense goes, they did lose their defensive coordinator to the Seahawks, so maybe there's just a little bit of early season transition into the new defensive coordinator there. So I don't know. I mean, they still have like some, a lot of talent between Kyle Hamilton and Mose. I don't know who else. I'm drawing a blank on it, but Roquan Smith. Right. Like they got plenty of guys. So I think they'll figure it out. It's just a little bit of a transition right now with McDonald going to Seattle.
By the way, you guys, you have 57 seconds if you want to play some trivia. But yeah, no, I agree. We'll go to Sean, and then I have kind of a question for the panel. Sean, go ahead.
Yeah, I gotta get out of here, but I just wanted to mention 2 other things. I think now's the time we talk about it. Deshaun Watson may just be completely gone. Like I don't know why. I think Cleveland needs to switch it up at this point. I mean, maybe I'm wrong on that. I know a lot of people still feel, that he can do things, but I think you got to give the ball to Jameis or DTR. Give them a shot. Deshaun Watson just looks like absolute garbage. And then looking at the quarterbacks through the first few weeks of the season, I know nobody really thought it was going to go this way. I mean, you got Sam Darnold looking like a beast in Minnesota. I think he's got 11 touchdowns on the season and 4 interceptions. And you got freaking Andy Dalton even doing better than some of the guys in the NFL that we thought were going to be good. I mean, Sam Darnold actually looks better than Jared Goff at this point. And then the Vikings are getting it done through with their defense. And I mean, last week, if you look at it, he didn't even have that great of a game. He had a pretty terrible game this past week, actually, and they still managed to get it done. So I think they go into this week with the bye, and they go next week to face the the Lions, and that's going to be their real shot. If they beat the Lions, I think we really need to start talking about it. I mean, I know the Lions haven't been the greatest to start the season, but that's a competitive team that they'll be facing, in my opinion. I think the Vikings are a solid team this year. They look pretty solid. As long as Sam Darnold can stay playing efficient, then I think that we need to talk about the Vikings actually making a run.
I think the Vikings are the biggest fugazi in the NFL, and as soon as the playoffs come, we'll realize that.
So. Who are you a fan of?
The 49ers.
49ers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
but he does
I
know
agree
shit,
with
though.
you on the.
I'll give him that.
I agree with you on the Deshaun Watson thing. He's a train wreck. I was once a believer. He looks like another person who's just mentally shattered. I think that like something's just wrong with him, and he just can't get right now. Like he can't get right now. That's what it is. And also, their defense has been ass. Everybody was, shaboing in the defense, talking about how great it was going to be. Their defense has fucking sucked. So like, it hasn't just been him. It's been both sides of the ball. They've been absolutely terrible.
I'm not going to defend Deshaun, but there's way deeper problems. Like when he walked out of that huddle.
Did you see their defense? Did you see their defense get undressed by Daniel Jones?
Yeah. Or
their
offense, they look just lost. Like nobody knows where they're supposed to be, who's supposed to be in the game, who's lined up where. Like they look so lost. Like
yeah, but at the same time,
you
can't defend him because he's supposed to be a leader on that team. You don't have Nick Chubb; he's your leader.
I'm not. But it goes way deeper than that. It goes to the OC and the head coach.
I mean, he looks tight. Nothing a little massage can't fix.
The defense was supposed to be amazing.
That's funny.
People talk about Stefanski like he's a high level offensive mind because he got to the playoffs a couple of times with Kirk Cousins, and because Flacco turned the ball over more than any quarterback when he played.
Two-time coach of the year.
Yeah, well, listen, y'all realize that Flacco threw more picks than any quarterback when he played last year in the span that he played, and they made the playoffs. And then people were talking about him being good. And then what did he do in the playoff game? He went and threw 3 picks, right? And one was a pick 6, right? Wow, Stefanski, amazing offensive mind there, right? Only thing that happened was that Myles Garrett put him in his backpack and carried them across the finish line. That's what really happened. That's the real truth about the Cleveland Browns last year. It was Myles Garrett did everything. Brady even scored touchdowns. He had an insane season last year, right? Like he just did anything that he possibly could to get them through to the end of the year. Flacco was turning the ball over crazy, and they still made the playoffs. Deshaun Watson does look like a shell of himself. And also, I really want to remind people that the one year that he led the NFL in passing, the team won 4 games. So if that's your resume that you're attaching to being a great quarterback, then cool. I'm happy you won your fantasy league because you had like 6 rushing touchdowns too, and he had like 9 10 touchdowns that were over 50 yards or something.
I think that season he also was second in passer rating. I could be wrong, but it was the year that Aaron Rodgers
won 4 games.
Yeah, but like I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather have my quarterback second in passer rating and leading the league in passing yards compared to being middle of the pack with an average quarterback.
So you wouldn't correlate all those passing yards with the team being bad and them losing all the games and him having to throw late in games against soft defenses? That's just a theory.
Maybe, but I mean that's not his fault if his defense is terrible.
Wolf, something that you just jogged my. Do you know who is leading the league in passer rating right now? That has 12 touchdowns and 2 interceptions.
Is that Sam Darnold?
No, he has 6 turnovers.
No, it's the other side of the same state we're just talking about. A team that I'm shocked is not doing better. Joe Burrow is leading the passer rating for the whole league. He's 12 touchdowns to 2 interceptions, and somehow or another they cannot win games over there.
You take the New England game away, he's far and away the best quarterback in football statistically.
Yeah, that's why the Bengals are still alive.
Rip, do you think they're still a Super Bowl contender?
I do.
By the way,
only one way for the defense to go.
Yeah, I mean they're terrible. I think.
And like, wait, and then the statistics say that they have a 6% chance, but like they could definitely be one of those 6% teams because they're that good.
Do you think even with their defense?
Yeah, if Burrow plays like he played last week, then they're going to win most of the games they play the rest of the season.
Also, the last 8 weeks of the NFL season becomes the Hunger Games for the AFC North. Like all of the teams play each other the last 8 weeks. That's part of what I think people need to pay attention to as far as the beginning of the year and the approach from some of the teams is that they know they're going to get opportunities against the division the last 6-7 weeks. Like Baltimore, everyone knows it. Like Baltimore knows it, Cleveland knows it, Cincy knows it. It's going to be the Hunger Games the last 8 weeks of the season.
Yeah, but these teams are also already losing division games, so that kind of takes away a little bit of that sting. But I do agree with you. I do understand what you're kind of getting at there. We have not. I know your hand isn't up, but Bob is a Cleveland Browns fan who also hates the Browns.
And Bob also
getting.
Also was the only one who posted. He got 6 for 6 for the trivia, by the way. So Bob did win $25.
This man is the most cynical Browns fan I know. And I want to get your take on the Deshaun Watson because I know that it will be unfiltered, unbiased, and it's very straightforward to the point because between Deshaun Watson and Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, so going into the year, I thought the Browns had one of the longest range of outcomes possible. Really, I thought the floor outcomes were very possible, and they had some high ceiling outcomes too with the talent. Obviously they went through 4 quarterbacks last year, elite defense, but I was a little worried that would fall off because if you look at that defensive performance last year, in that playoff run, ton of backup quarterbacks faced, and enormous home road splits between the performance of that defense last season. So a little concerned. Then come August of this year, started hearing some really poor rumblings. Obviously, Watson wasn't going through preseason at all. And then having, obviously, a shoulder issue, right? And then through training camp, he's taking rest days, but just really bad locker room stuff. Started hearing, that throughout Berea, which is where the Browns training facility is, and whatnot there. So that was when I really started looking at floor outcomes. And then you saw it right away in the Cowboys game that this offense was going to be one of the worst in the league. They have the second worst running back room in football, only behind the Cowboys until Nick Chubb comes back. But we saw his knee explode. He's had multiple knee surgeries now. So we don't know if he's going to be the player he is. I hope he is. He's a great player. But you're not hopeful for there. But very poor running back room. Tons of offensive line injuries. Again, you were seeing that in August as well. Something that's just now starting to get healthier, but they're still. I mean, they had a week where 4 guys left in 1 week in that position. So poor offensive line, poor running back room. The Amari Cooper trade rumor thing, which was a thing, and you've seen him not be engaged, on and off throughout the beginning part of this season. Maybe he's a candidate for someone who was mentioning the Chiefs earlier. I'm not sure about that. So just poor personnel everywhere, and then Watson has lost literally everything. I know. Immediately after that Cowboys game, I started betting some Browns' worst record in the league. I have 16-1, 20-1. I think I have some 12 as well on that. So that's something that the bet might not win, but I know I have good prices. I mean, they're in that quality of team right now. As far as that goes, I do like Stefanski.
Bob, I have to ask. Why would you bet against your own team to have the worst record in the league?
My favorite team is my wallet. That's number one. My favorite team is my wallet. I said the price shouldn't. I saw that first game against the Cowboys. Really in that second quarter. I mean, I think I was live betting the Cowboys to win by alt lines and cashed them all on that in game as well. But I just started betting to have the worst record. Just again, thought that price shouldn't have been 16 or 12 or where the other numbers I got it. So yeah, just obviously very down. I do like Stefanski. I am impressed that he got made the playoffs last year with four different quarterbacks. I won't count Driscoll in that final game because they'd already sealed it. So I do think he's impressive. I do like that offense. I do think that Watson is kind of forcing Stefanski's hand. He's not an 11 personnel head coach. He's like Cousins with the Shanahan tree a little bit, and he's not running that system because it's not Watson's preferred system. So that's another flaw of the current Browns in this season. So yeah, I think they're a 3-4 win team this year. And yeah, it's very bleak on the lakefront.
Love to hear it, Bob. And Bob, make sure you DM me after this. I'll send you over your money.
All right, cool.
All right, guys, we're coming up to the end of the hour. We're going to run trivia one more time. This one's a little easier. It's just NFL recap and records and who's leading what division. But I wanted to go over to Apollo Sports and Presley. I just got him up on stage. My screen finally loaded, so I could finally see Apollo Sport. Actually, we'll go to Presley, then we'll go to Apollo Sports. Presley, go ahead.
What's up, guys? Great conversation. I'll just add a few of the games that I really enjoyed. That Colts Jags game, watching the offensive battle between Trevor Lawrence and Flacco, I was really entertained by that. And I was happy the Jags actually pulled that off. I thought they had a chance and they kept that game close. The other game, the Ravens and the Bengals game. So Joe Burrow is, like you guys were saying, the Bengals are way underrated right now with how he's playing. I mean, he had 5 touchdown passes in that game. And if Derrick Henry doesn't run that 51-yard down to get the field goal, then they might not win that game. So I think that the Bengals definitely are better than their record shows. And you're going to love me for this one, Sam. So the Bears, if you guys watched that game, I'm not huge on the Bears, but they did dominate both sides of the ball in that game. So they did look good, and the Commanders are still looking really good. And Deshaun Watson, he was sacked 7 times. So is that on him or is that the O-line? I don't know, but yeah, I don't think he looks good either. And I was looking at the 1-4 teams. So there's the Pats, the Jags, the Bengals, the Panthers, the Browns, and the Rams. And out of those 6 teams, the 2 that stand out to me are the Bengals, obviously, and the Panthers. I think both of those teams are better than 1-4. Maybe not the Panthers, but I'm still kind of surprised on that many teams. But great conversation, great games, and I sucked at the trivia, Sam. So make it a little easier or give me more time next time. Thank you.
Don't worry. The next one in about 2 minutes here will be pretty easy. I can still do the $25 if we get enough participants in there. So yeah, no, I am excited. Apollo Sports, go ahead.
Hey man, good evening. Good to see all you guys up on this space here. Appreciate you guys always bringing me up here. Some great conversations about some matchups that we saw this week. A little bit impressed with a lot of football play from a couple of teams here. So just to let's get the bet out first. Couple teams that I'm a little bit worried about. I mean, I wouldn't say that they are completely out of the playoffs, but to keep a good eye on. So I'm gonna be honest with you. I know you guys are talking up about Joe Burrow and how they played a great game this week, put up 5 touchdowns. I'm gonna go on the contrary on this one. I'm gonna have to go against all of you guys and say that I really think that the Bengals might not make the playoffs this year. We've seen a lot of questionable football play. Yeah, they had a great week. Amazing. I respect it. You know, Jamar Chase put up some beautiful numbers, and I love it. But I'm truly concerned with the identity that the Bengals have right now. I think that there's a struggle somewhere internally, and it has to get hashed out either by midseason. If not, they're not going to make it to the playoffs. So to get away from them, a couple other teams I was really happy to see win this week was the Falcons. I've been talking really good about the Falcons since the beginning. I've been saying that the Falcons were going to do great things this season. Little underperformance by a couple players, but man, Drake London, he has been on fire these last couple weeks with Kirk Cousins. I actually have him on fantasy football, so I'm pretty happy to see his growth with Kirk Cousins, and I really do think that this is going to get better and better as the weeks go on, as long as there's no injuries. Really good game by the Chiefs. Safe to say, you know, Patrick Mahomes, he's a different breed. I wasn't expecting them to go 5-0. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're going to go 17-0. I really don't think that's a possibility. But then again, you know, who knows what can happen throughout the season. You know, obviously they're not going to be able to acquire Davante Adams. So, you know, their wide receiver situation seems to be a little bit wonky. But I did see some news today that, what's his name? Rashee Rice is actually not getting certain surgeries and repairs that they really thought it would be. So there's a high chance that he might actually be coming back towards the end of the season, possibly postseason. So that's something to keep a good eye on, especially if you have him on fantasy football. If you know he has a chance of coming back, absolutely store him on IR, or you could try to pull some leverage with somebody and get somebody else in trade. Caleb Williams, really great football this week. I do see that there has been some growth from the beginning of the season. He's a rookie quarterback at the end of the day, guys. You got to give him some slack. You got to give him some grace. That's the best way to say it. The kid's going to make mistakes. He's going to make bad reads. He's coming from college football. College football compared to the NFL is like getting on a taxi and then getting on a bullet train. The speed difference is immaculate. So you have to understand it's going to take him some time to grow. It's going to take him time to get to where he needs to get to. But he's doing his thing. He's making those reads. He's making better decisions. He's moving the ball down the field. So I do expect Caleb Williams to get better as the season goes on. There's a really, really good possibility that Chicago might slip into the playoffs. The Vikings, they're probably going to take that division. Maybe the Lions, because I'm still heavy on the Lions and Texans. But I do see the Chicago Bears possibly making it into a wild card game and making it an interesting enough game to where they can show the NFL that they have a chance. Let's not forget their defense. Their defense is lights out. It's been like that since the beginning of the season, and it's only going to get better. If Chicago can get their hands on somebody that becomes a free agent throughout any point of this season on defense, it's going to get better. And there's no stopping that defense. So it really, comes back to Caleb Williams. I do believe that the Bears made a great decision by drafting him at 1. I think it's crazy to say that Jaden Daniels could have went first, but then again, you have to look at the offensive identity. You have to look at the offensive scheme. Chicago, Washington, 2 different offensive schemes, 2 different coaching staffs. And not every coach, merges the best with their quarterback or their wide receivers. It all depends on how they can correlate together and make the right decisions. So really impressed by Caleb Williams. I've been high on him since the beginning of the season. I still think he can get Offensive Rookie of the Year. It's very early. He's going to continue to impress and do what he does best. One team that I'm going to talk about, which I don't really want to talk about right now, is my own team, the Patriots. I don't know if you guys saw today, but we are starting Drake May this week against the Texans. You guys know how I feel about this. I'm 100% letting Jacoby Brissett staying in for the rest of the season, taking them hits. So if it were up to me, you guys know I'm not starting Drake May, but let's give the guy a chance. If the old line folds like a lawn chair and he gets hurt, you guys heard it from me first. Aside from that, thank you for the space. I appreciate being up on here. You guys are awesome. Follow out.
Love to hear it, guys. I am going to run trivia one more time before we close it up. You get 3 minutes to answer 6 questions. They're pretty easy. I have a random number generator, so whatever number that lands on, if it's, let's say it's number 3, the third one I see, we'll get the $25. I have a feeling a lot of people are going to get 6 for 6 here. I just launched it. You guys 3 minutes to answer it. When that is happening, I'll send it over to my co-host, Tenement, and then we'll go over to Rip. Tenement, go ahead. Unless you're playing trivia. If you're playing trivia, don't answer. Okay, you might be playing trivia, guys.
Well, I am playing trivia, but let's see. No, I just want to say also, good hard-fought battle this week between myself and Rip in the Wolf Sports League.
Wait, who won? Who won?
To be honest,
don't tell me he won.
I edged it out, but it was much closer than it appeared like it was going to be at different points. I mean, he picked up I'll say this. This man picked up like Tucker Kraft in the morning on Sunday morning and got 2 touchdowns out of it. Like just as a last minute pickup straight into the roster, 2 touchdowns. So that made it a little more dicey than it needed to be.
Love to hear it.
Well, yeah.
Rip, go ahead, man.
Yeah. Listen, congrats. When Josh Allen and Breece Hall combined for 20 points, it's not a good week, and you had good pickups. So on to next week.
It was two battered teams kind of going at it, to be honest. It was two teams that were showing up with a lot of battle wounds that kind of just like throwing wild punches at each other. I think I had I had like multiple players starting that weren't even originally drafted. And both of us did, to be honest.
Sorry, guys. I was just playing trivia. How the heck did I get one wrong on my own trivia? I literally just got one wrong. So be sure you're posting. If you got 6 for 6, be posting in the comments. I have a number. Once this timer goes out, I'll tell you the number before I go through the comments. And then just once we confirm, let me know, and I'll send you guys over the money however you guys want it. We have 50 seconds. But other than that, guys, this was a great space. I want to give a special shout out. We had Blitz up here for the first time. We had Jones up here. We also had Tropic, Bob, Fantasy Football Forecast runs a great show on Saturday night. Presley, Amp is just my favorite, except when he, craps on the Bears half the time. Apollo Sports is wonderful. His brother was in here too. I'll be seeing him at Karate Combat. Special shout out to my two co-hosts, Tenement and their app, and Rip. Rip is probably the smartest football guy I've ever met, except I don't want to admit it. Except when he praises Caleb Williams, and then it makes sense. But other than that, guys, this show was absolutely great. There's about 10 seconds left, and overall, great space. Thank you, Rip, and thank you, Tenement. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, did anybody get 6 for 6? Please raise your hand. Guys, oh no! Do not make me guys. No, the Rip is not okay. Rip and Bob. Okay, the only 2 people got it. Okay, just post in the comments. Bob, unfortunately, if it's just you and Rip, I'm gonna give it to Rip.
Yeah,
unfortunately.
That's the
God, no. Guys, this was an absolutely great space. Post in the comments and I'll go through. Unfortunately, it might be Rip. Thank you everyone for attending. And we'll see you guys. We're changing it up a little bit. We're doing a space with Plug at 11 a.m. Eastern tomorrow. Be sure you're tuning in. I know a lot of people work. So in case, just you can listen in and hear some of his VIP bets. Guys, it was a pleasure, and thank you.